morning, friends. Been a long time since I've been on here to do a long form. I've been putting up a couple shorts, but I've been guilty of not really sitting down and chatting with you all and seeing where things take us. So today, that's what I'm going to do. As you can tell, looking in the background, I am in the midst of getting ready for a move, 35 days out. So today is going to kind of, in some ways, really deal with that. I'm going to look at some aspects of moving forward in your life, and things I'm wrestling with and things I'm going through. Been in a house for 31 years, been in a community my entire life, and packing everything up and taking myself south. It's exciting, but at the same time, it's a real bittersweet thing, adjusting to change. But that's kind of where we are today. So I'm going in a completely different direction than I've gone. I'm going to share with you a story from Genesis of Lot's wife. And the more I've been looking at this story lately, I come at it with a little bit of a different take, maybe. So I'll look at some of the traditional takes and what I was taught. And then I'm looking at it with a very different spin right now. And I think that when you look at religious stories and mythological stories, that this has a commonality with a lot of them. And you see a trend that runs through here that I think supports where I'm going to take this. So I'm going to read from verse 10. This is set up in Sodom and Gomorrah. It was a place of basically debauchery. For lack of a better word, the Las Vegas of the Old Testament. But even worse so, this deals with rape. This deals with prostitution. This deals with just an ugliness in that community. So this picks us up there as there's a confrontation outside of Lot's house. And I'll start on verse 10. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so they could not find the door. The two men said to Lot, "Do you have anyone else in here, son-in-laws, daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry of the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it." So Lot went out and spoke to his son-in-laws who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, "Hurry and get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the city." But his son-in-laws thought he was joking. With the coming of the dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Hurry, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished." He hesitated. The men grasped his hand and the hand of his wife and of his two daughters, and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, "Flee for your lives, don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away." But Lot said to them, "No, my lords, please. Your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness to me in sparing my life. But I cannot flee in the mountains. This disaster will overtake me, and I'll die. Look, here is a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It's very small, isn't it? And then my life will be spared." He said to him, "Well, very well. I will grant you this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there quickly, because I cannot do anything until you reach it." That is why the town was called Zor. By the time Lot reached Zor, the sun had risen over the land, and then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, destroying all lives in the city, and also the vegetation. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. Early the next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked down on Sodom and Gomorrah toward all the land of the plain, and he saw dense smoke from the land, like smoke from a furnace. So when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham, and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the city where Lot had lived. And as I look at that, I really think quite a bit about the plight of Lot's daughter, or Lot's wife, and this idea of don't look back. When I was taught the story, the focus was more on disobedience to the Lord, and you get punished. And then that was translated into disobedience to your parents, and you get punished, and disobedience to society, and you get punished. And it kind of stays with a motif that I felt quite often of punishment. And I see it a little differently now. And I think the key to this story is don't look back. And by don't look back, I don't mean forget your past. I don't mean leave your past completely behind. But when you're on a path to go somewhere and to do something and to achieve something, I think that key is keep your focus on that, and don't let yourself be pulled back into your past way of life. You know, I mentioned the fact that I'm getting ready to uproot and leave this area. Well, I'm going to hold extremely fond memories. This has been home. My wife and I were married in the backyard of this house. This has always been a big part of who I am, but it doesn't define who I am. So as I move forward, I can bring all the best of what I have here to there. And the beautiful thing is I'm set up with coaching and tutoring that I can do it live in person wherever I am, but I can also do it online. So when you look into this idea of don't look back, where you become this pillar of salt, you become frozen. You become stuck at the place where you are instead of moving forward. That interpretation works much better for me because it's a lesson that I can understand and I can see where it's supposed to go. And that lesson has been in other religions and mythologies too. There's a Hindi story about that. So you have this idea of this is what is taking place. It's also the idea of Lot himself, that sometimes to grow, we need to leave our comfort zone. We need to leave that place that we feel most safe. That because we don't grow when we're too comfortable. When we're focused in this comfort area, growth really stops. And we just exist on this treadmill. We just keep kind of spinning into that same direction. And that's not a healthy place to be, because it also can pull us down into, we stop trying. We give up the idea because we think this is all we're meant to do, or this is the only place we're meant to be. And in pushing yourself out of that comfort zone, sometimes you've got to try a road. And if it doesn't lead you to where you want to be, then you can come back and try another road. But you just have to keep going out there and pushing yourself and knowing that success awaits you. I don't know where I put it. There was a quote that I spoke about the other day that I put a video up. And it's the idea that when you wake up in the morning, you don't know what the evening holds. You know, the day is not predetermined before you. But so many of us wake up and dread what we have to do that day, that, like going back to Lot's wife, we freeze as this pillar of salt and we just go through the motions because we in our head said it's going to be a bad day, or this isn't going to work, or I don't know why I'm doing this. Instead of, I have these wonderful opportunities before me when I wake up today. And no matter where I think they may take me, they may not. I may find something completely different and absolutely wonderful sitting in front of me that I can play upon. So that was really one of the things that I wanted us to look for in, as we look at that idea of where these things can take us. And that this story is about more than simply disobeying and punishment. That you know, Lot's wife was really punished because she couldn't move on to a new life. She kept looking back to her old life. So, you know, if you look at it from a metaphor, the more we look back, the more we get stuck in where we were, instead of being able to discover new things from where we're going. And those new things present us with absolutely beautiful opportunities. Yesterday, the quote on the calendar, and I thought it was wonderful, was from Eckhart Tolle. And it said, attachment to things drops away by itself when you no longer seek to find yourself in them. And that connected to me with this story of Lot's wife, because that attachment to things is, we think that we need these things to define who we are or to find out who we are, when in fact we become who we are because of the experiences and because we allow ourselves to grow in those experiences. And that's the most important piece to that. Let's see, Friday comes from, and I say this is the Zen quote calendar for the day. This comes from Tara Brach. Nothing is wrong. Whatever is happening is just real life. And maybe it's because my mind is on that. That fits into that same kind of equality. You know, we think there's something's a mistake, but I always would tell my students, if I learn from what I thought was a mistake, it becomes a lesson, because now I've grown. And in fact, when in teaching writing, you have to take risks, and sometimes those risks won't work, but then you know it's something not to do the next time, and that there's something new for you to try. We have to make mistakes in life if we want to become better. If we just safely do the same thing we're always doing, we're never going to get anywhere. We're never going to have that big achievement. We're never going to have that moment that we learn. And thus, the pillar of salt that can't move, that is stuck in the same place because she couldn't let go of her past. So our lesson is, learn from our past. Enjoy the fact that it happened. You know, memories are not a bad thing. Memories are an absolutely wonderful thing. But realize we need to make sure we keep growing. We need to make sure that we're always moving forward and we're always growing. So, as I talk to you for the next couple weeks, you will see this room get less and less cluttered, but become plainer and plainer. I mean, as you can see, I've already started emptying the bookcase behind me. That's probably the biggest thing I have, quite a collection of books, and many of them are very important to me. So while I've gotten rid of quite a few of them are still along for the journey. So the second thing I wanted to do today, because I haven't done it in a long time, is a meditation. And I will timestamp this meditation. So, you know, if you want to, if somebody doesn't, if you want to recommend this to somebody and they don't want to listen to my whole thought on Lot and Lot's wife and Sodom and Gomorrah, they can just click into this point and it will be the meditation. So today we're going to look at a visualization, and it'll be the idea of finding a place, no matter what's going on around us, finding a place of calm and relaxation. So if you're listening to this while you're driving or walking, you might want to pause it or come back to it, and you'll come back to about the 14-minute mark. But wherever you can be comfortable, I just ask if you can sit up straight. And we're going to start by taking 3 deep breaths into our stomach. And if you want to put your hand on your stomach, you should feel it expand as you're filling your lungs. So take a deep breath in, and then slowly let it out. And as you let this breath out, let your whole body relax with the out breath. Your shoulders drop. Feel yourself sink into the chair. Notice the pause at the bottom of the breath and take another deep breath in. And then again, let this breath out. As you let this breath out, even let your face relax. While your eyes are closed, don't squint them tight. And finally, one more deep breath in. And as you breathe out, picture any stress or any worry about the day just going out with your out breath. And if you want to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. If you're not comfortable with your eyes closed, just soften your gaze and pick a point about a foot in front of you on the floor to just focus upon. And let your breathing return to normal. We're going to spend about 1 minute just grounding into here and now and focused on our breath. You can either focus on the movement of your stomach, you can focus on your breath in your chest, or maybe the movement of the air under your nostrils. Do this for about a minute. Now, anytime as we're doing this, if you feel a different thought coming in your head, a worry about what's coming up, planning for what you're going to do when you're finished here, thinking about the people in your life, whatever it is, just acknowledge that thought. It's not wrong, and let it drift away. And realize that, in fact, they're not failures. When you realize that you're thinking, they are the true moments of being mindful. And that's what meditation's about. Understanding your thoughts instead of them controlling you. Now, I want you to picture a place that you go to where you really find true warmth and happiness. A place you feel like you can relax. It can be different places in our lives. Maybe it's a room in your house that you just feel at perfect peace and comfort. Maybe it's sitting on the beach, hearing the waves. And perhaps it's a cabin in the mountains where you wake up in the morning before anyone in the house is awake. And you're outside having coffee and you're listening to the leaves rustle. But wherever it is, picture that place for a moment. See it as vividly as you can. All the color, the details. Try to hear the sounds that you hear when you're there, what's happening around you. Even try to smell the smells. If you're on the beach, smell that salt air. If you're up in the mountains, the wet leaves, the grass. Maybe if you're just sitting in a room in your house, you can even smell a candle you enjoy when it burns. But really see this place and you being here and the feelings you feel when you're there as completely and thoroughly as you can. And now just sitting with your breath. Imagine the joy and the calm and the presence of just being there at this moment. Maybe even turning your head, seeing the full panorama of what's in front of you, what's around you. And as you do this, now even try to picture the sounds you hear. What are the sounds you hear when you sit in this place, enjoying the peace and the solitude? We're going to try to sit here for a minute of quiet. As I said before, if your mind drifts and you find yourself leaving that place and coming to thoughts about what's ahead of you today or what happened yesterday, just see them like a cloud in the sky and acknowledge they're there. Think about what it is you're feeling and then just watch it drift away and come back to this place of relaxation. Now, as we sit together, we're going to shift out of this the same way we came in. Slowly, we're going to take a deep breath in. This time, notice the breath as it's coming in and notice the pause that's on the top of the breath. Just that instant that you then let that breath out. And then hold that pause in the bottom for a moment. Second deep breath in. See that full cycle with a pause in the top. And then as you breathe out any worries, any concerns, any stresses. Finally, one more deep breath in. And this time as you breathe out, when you reach that end of the out breath, let your eyes open. Slowly bring yourselves back to the room, back to where we are. And the idea behind that is that you can practice that. And then even in the most stressful times, you can take a break, you can walk away. And even if you only do it for a minute, you can drop yourself into a place that calms you to allow you to focus and take away any of those surging emotions you might be feeling. So I thank you for joining me today. It was wonderful talking to all of you. I'll ask you the same thing I always end with. Take a moment before you move on from here. And if you want to write them down, that's even better. But think of 3 things that happened to you either today, if you're listening to this at night, or that happened to you yesterday, if you're listening to it earlier in the day, that you're truly grateful for. 3, and they don't have to be huge things. I'm grateful for a surprise conversation that I was able to have when I was having coffee at a Stars, and I ran into a friend and we sat down and we talked for 25 minutes. I'm grateful for the wonderful fall weather that's here and the fact that I can still go out for bike rides and I can still enjoy that time riding bikes. And I'm grateful for pictures and notes that I've found as I'm clearing out this room in my house that I had forgotten I had, and that were able to bring back beautiful and wonderful memories of different times in my life. The more you do it, the more you see it all around you. Gratitude starts showing up more and more. So have a beautiful day, make the most of it, and find reasons to smile. Take care. Thank you.